guys, so welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a tag. It is called the TBR tag. I'm really excited to do this. I saw this over on Ariel's channel. I know Ariel Bissett was not the original of this tag, but I will put all of that information in the little doobly-doo down below. But I'm excited to do a tag. I haven't done one in quite a while. I hope you like my background. I've gotten some new equipment, as you can see in my eyes or in my glasses, and I can now finally use my books as my background. So I'm excited for that. But I have a little sheet with all the questions. So let's just jump right into the tag. If you enjoy this, if you love books, if you want to talk about some books, make sure you subscribe and share and like and comment and tell me some things you'd like me to see or do or talk about, and I definitely will. And then obviously as well, I'm a huge Disney fan, so as you can see there's Simba behind me and Frozen in this corner. So if you also enjoy Disney videos, go on over to my other channel. That information will also be down in the little doobly-doo for my Disney channel, True Happiness 365. Over there I do vlogs, Disney, Disney Cruise Line, health and beauty, and escape rooms and lesbian stuff, and yeah, so if you're interested in any of that, you can go over there. So okay, we're doing the TBR tag. So the first question is, how do you keep track of your TBR pile? It is very hard. I do love Goodreads, even though I've heard that it's canceled. Is Goodreads canceled? Am I just out of the loop? But I love Goodreads because I have literally gone through all of my books, because I've obviously, like, these are new, I've moved stuff around, so I've gone all through my entire book collection, and I've been able to go on there, and I have different categories where I have like a physical hard TBR pile. I have just my want to read pile, that's just books from anywhere that I just want to read. I have books that I own that I've read, so there's a bunch of them there. And so I just, anytime I get a book, before I put it onto a shelf or put it away, I just scan it into Goodreads and put it in my physical TBR pile, so I know how many TBR books. I do have a lot, and we'll talk about that later, but Goodreads, that is how I keep track of my TBR pile. Number 2, is your TBR mostly print or ebook? It's kind of both. About 3/4 of my TBR pile is all physical books. And like I said, I have a lot. I will explain that later. But about 1/4 of my books are ebooks, because I've gone on to NetGalley and have asked for a lot of books that I probably shouldn't have, but I'm slowly getting through them as I read. And so I do have a lot of ebooks, but I do not prefer ebooks. I don't like reading them, but yes, mostly physical books. Number 3, how do you determine which book on your TBR to read next? It's kind of how I feel. I used to, like a while ago, I used to make TBR piles and actually have books that, like, I wanted to read that month, but it ended up being that when I got to the end of my book and I went to my TBR pile and I said, okay, well, I have to pick from these books to read next, I didn't want to. And so I've never made a TBR pile since. I just pick a book based on what I want to read. I have a ton of different kinds of books, so I kind of just normally go between bookshelves and see if there's a couple that I want to read, and then I kind of narrow it down after that. Okay, number 4, a book that's been on your TBR the longest. I looked around my house and I don't know what to pick, because there's a lot of books that I've gotten rid of that came before a lot of these books. So I really don't know what in my house has been on my TBR the longest that I haven't read. I figured I could go on Goodreads and check what I've put on there, but there was one point that I put them all on in like a day because I was organizing that day, so the dates on that don't mean much anymore. So I have absolutely no clue what book in this house that has been on my TBR the longest. Number 5, a book you recently added to your TBR. So I do have a book haul coming, and that's in my bedroom at the moment because it's like 4 o'clock in the morning I'm filming this. My wife is sleeping, my dogs are sleeping, I'm filming and getting stuff ready because we're going to Disney tomorrow. But so I didn't want to go and and mess with them. So that will be a book haul. But the closest book to me that is the newest book on my TBR is Unbirthday by Liz Braswell, I think. This is the newest of her Twisted Tales series, obviously about Alice in Wonderland. I unfortunately have not read any of these books. I do own them all now, but I've not read them just because for some reason they just haven't been the book that I've wanted to pick up next. But Disney is a huge part of my life, so I know I'm definitely going to read them and love them. But this would definitely be the newest book from my TBR. Next question. Number 6, a book on your TBR strictly because of its beautiful cover. So this one you have to blame on Book Outlet. I was on Book Outlet and I had seen this book before, but I literally have no clue what it's about. I kind of figured it out once I bought the book, but it just never really sounded very interesting to me. But the minute I saw this cover, I just needed to buy it. And I don't know why. I don't even know if I will like this book, but I'm gonna try it. And it is Glitter by April Lynn Pike. I love this cover. It is such a pretty cover. Like, I love it. I had to buy it. And then the second is such a beautiful cover as well. So I don't really know what this is about. Don't really know if I'm gonna like it, but I'm gonna give it a shot because it's a pretty cover. I know one of the biggest things people tell you is don't judge a book by its cover, but us book people do it all the time. Next, number 7, a book on your TBR that you never plan on reading. I don't know why people would buy a book that you don't plan on reading. I've been on BookTube here for quite a while, like 8 years or something now, possibly 9. I don't even know anymore. Back in the day, I used to buy a lot of books that I didn't know if I would like. Not just like this glitter one that like every once in a while. It was like every time I would go shopping, I would buy any book that somebody on BookTube talked about and liked, and no matter what my taste was, I would buy it. And that's not healthy. And so when I moved in here with my wife, I went through it a little bit, but we didn't have as much stuff, and so it didn't matter as much. But now that we because of COVID, she now works at home, so now we have to have a desk in the room, and we've had to move things. I've gone through a lot of my books, and I've gotten rid of a lot of books that I probably would have read if I had kept them, but they're just not my style. They're not the type of book I read. And so I have done that with everything I have now, and so I don't think that I own anything that I'm not going to read. I believe everything I own in this house, unless it's not my book. That's the only thing I can say. Like, Sarah has a vastly different type of book that she likes than I do, and some of her books I won't be reading, but I didn't buy them. She did. So I don't know. Every book I own, I'm gonna want to read at some point. Next one is 8, an unpublished book on your TBR that you're excited for. So I do own some ARCs, but majority of the ARCs that I own, I have bought from someone on Mercari or bought at a Goodwill. I think I've been sent 1 ARC, maybe 2 in my entire history here on BookTube. And I'm trying to change that. I would love to be able to get ARCs or even borrow ARCs from other booktubers, but not many booktubers like to be friends with me. So I can't show that because like I said, I have ARCs. All of them are for books that have come out possibly even years ago. So I don't really have an ARC that I'm excited for because I don't get ARCs. Number 9, a book on your TBR that basically everyone has read but you. That's probably everything on my TBR. But the one that I saw and noticed is Truly Devious by Maureen Johnson. I've heard so many good things about this book, and I really, really, really want to read this series, but it's just so many other books have piqued my interest above this one. So at some point, I swear, I will read this book. I want to read the series so bad. I love crime and mystery and thriller. think I've read a Maureen Johnson book, and I was not a huge fan of it. That's the only thing that's kind of hindering me. But I've heard fabulous things about this book, so I'm really excited to get to this because I think I'm the last person on earth to read the series. It'll happen one day, I promise. Next question, number 10, a book on your TBR that everyone recommends to you. So it's not so much here on BookTube as it is on TikTok, on Book Talk, that there's like 3 books that if you haven't read, then you're not a reader, which I don't understand that. Not everyone likes the same books, but one of the biggest books that has been recommended to me is Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas, or any Sarah J. Maas book. I will say I have never read Throne of Glass. I've never read absolutely anything by Sarah J. Maas. I've never read anything by Cassandra Clare. Everyone keeps telling me to read City of Bones. I've never, like, I'm sorry. Fantasy and that kind of like assassin and things like that, not my type of book. Obviously, this, like I said, Sarah has a lot different tastes than me. She loves Sarah J. Maas. It's one of her favorite authors. She's literally read every single Sarah J. Maas book other than that Catwoman book. And she said that it's really good. And I've heard so many things. And so maybe at some point in my life, I will read this book, but it is definitely not on my radar right now. I have way too many other books to be reading before I read Throne of Glass. But this is definitely one series that is always, always, always shoved down my throat that I need to read it. Maybe one day. If you want to know more about that or Sarah's thoughts about that, we can do a video with Sarah. But if you want to know my thoughts about that, you'll be waiting a little while. Number 11, a book on your TBR that you're dying to read. All of them. There's many a day that I will come in. I have a big comfy chair right off camera. That I'll come in and I'll sit in this big comfy chair and I'll talk to Sarah, and all I do is just look around at all of my books and I'm like, oh my God, I want to read them all. So there's none that I can like just grab off the shelf and show you, like all of these that you see behind me. I want to read them. I just have no time or I get into really big depressive moods, and so sometimes it's hard for me to read, but I can't pick just one. I want to read everything that I own. And the last question, how many books on your TBR shelf? So I don't have a TBR shelf. I have TBR bookshelves, but don't come at me. I know I have a problem. I am definitely a self-proclaimed book hoarder. I have an issue, but I have over 2,000 books on my TBR pile that I own, and that is only print copy. I have no clue if I added in ebooks. I know that's a lot. When I was younger, when I first started BookTube, like I said, I bought everything. I never really went to Barnes & Noble a whole lot. I did sometimes, but I was never one of the rich booktubers back in the day. I went to Goodwill and I bought everything I saw, and my pile just kept growing and growing and growing and growing. But then I wouldn't read the books that I owned. I would go to the library and read those books, because in my head I kept telling myself, well, you own those books, they'll be there forever, so go to the library and read the newer books, because people on BookTube want you to read the newer books and you'll get more views if you read the newer books. So I tried, and it never worked for me, and so that's why now I'm reading whatever books I want, and I'm gonna review whatever books I want, and I'm gonna talk about whatever books I want. But it was hard for me when I first started BookTube, and I just kept buying and buying and buying and buying. I still do, but a lot less. And so the piles just kept growing, and I couldn't get rid of anything. And so yeah, I now have over 2,000 books on my TBR pile. I know it's a lot, and at some point in my life, I will read them. I will say that I don't, like, if I read them and I didn't like it, I do get rid of the book. I don't keep books unless they're like one of my favorite books. So I'm not that much of a hoarder. I just hoard them because I haven't read them yet. But I will read them. I also went through this phase when I was younger that when Kindles and ebooks were just coming out, that for some reason I really thought that physical books would die. Like there would be no Barnes and Noble, there would be no Books A Million, there like, and physical books, hardcover, softcover, like they wouldn't publish them anymore, that everything would be ebook. And I didn't like that. And so I kept buying so many, thinking, well, at some point I'm not going to be able to buy books, so I need to buy as much as possible so that I have enough that I can still read physical books when everyone else is on Kindle. I don't know why I thought that. I don't know. I had some issues when I was younger, but I still love all of my books, and I'm still going to read all of them, and I'm still loving them, and that number will go down significantly in the next couple of years because I'm going to be at least trying to read as much as possible, because I've officially stopped going to the library. I started that about, I think it's the start of COVID, I stopped going to the library. Been reading my own books, which is very good for me. I have a problem. Don't tell me I'm the only one. But that's the TBR tag. I know, shame me all you want. I don't care. But that is the TBR tag I have for you guys. I would love to know your answers. So either comment them below, do the video and tag me. I don't care. I'd just love to know what you guys think. And I will see you guys in my next video. Bye guys.